Terrorists commit a barbaric massacre that kills 25 citizens in a booby-trapped car blasting Hamas Street in As-Salamiyeh. The former commander-in-chief of the Russian Air Forces says the deployment of Patriot batteries near Syrian-Turkish borders is an act directed against Russia. "17 people are killed and 50 others wounded in 3 terrorist explosions in Baghdad." Good afternoon and welcome to our news for today. A suicide bomber yesterday detonated a booby-trapped car full of explosives in Hamas Street in the center of As-Salamiyeh, killing and injuring several citizens. The terrorist blast claimed the 5 of 25 people and wounded others, including women and children, some of whom are in a serious condition. Huge material damage was inflicted on the place, particularly As-Salamiyeh National Hospital, thus obstructing the rescue operation of the wounded. The Forum for Syria, along with members of the Syrian community in Hungary, condemned the terrorist attack which targeted As-Salamiyeh town. Members of the Forum stressed that the terrorist attack reveals the barbaric nature of the terrorists and their unmistakable affiliation with foreign agendas which seek to destroy Syria's stability. A unit of the Syrian Arab Army, in cooperation with the guards of the gas station in Mount Ashar, has faced a terrorist group on the road to Palmyra that was trying to attack the station. The clashes resulted in the killing and injuring of a number of terrorists. Another army unit destroyed 5 vehicles southeast of Palmyra, killing the terrorists there. Our armed forces also pursued a number of terrorists in Ibel, Al-Haydariyeh, Al-Buwaida and Sakhr in Homs countryside, killing and injuring many of them and destroying their equipment. Head of the International Relations Committee at the Russian Federal Council, Mr. Mikhail Margilov, has reiterated Russia's stand that calls for negotiations between the Syrian government and the opposition without foreign intervention, while the USA and the West insist on their call for changing the regime, adding that this keeps the differences between Moscow and Washington over the Syrian crisis. Margilov pointed out that the deterioration of the crisis would undermine stability not only in Syria, but in a region that extends from Morocco till Iran, as well as to the Russian and Chinese borders. On his part, former Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Air Forces, Anatoly Koronkov, has warned that the deployment of Patriot missiles near Syrian-Turkish borders is an act that is directed against the Commonwealth of Independent States as well as the member countries of the Collective Security Treaty Organization. This means, he added, that it is directed in the first place against Russia more than against Syria, because the borders are near and Azerbaijan is Turkey's ally. Therefore, they can shell Armenia easily and with extreme precision if they install the missiles on neighboring mountains. On the other side, members of the Turkish Communist Party demonstrated in Iskenderun port protesting the arrival of Patriot missiles at the port, expressing rejection of deploying these missile batteries on the Turkish territory. Members of the Turkish Communist Party protested in front of the port entrance to prevent the vehicles from going outside. Then they were able to enter the port despite attempts by the Turkish police to stop them. Protesters shouted slogans denouncing the NATO and the deployment of missiles, and also against US President Barack Obama and Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Spokesman for the Central Committee of the Turkish Communist Party, Erkan Baş, addressed the protesters, saying that the Turkish Council of the Nation didn't discuss the decision to deploy Patriot missiles or foreign forces on the Turkish land, pointing out that the Turkish people will not be a partner in implementing this decision and will prevent the occupation forces from entering his country. Mr. Baş added that the sultans of the Ottoman Empire allowed their country to be occupied by bringing foreign forces, while the Turkish people were against this occupation, referring to the decision by the ruling government of the Justice and Development Party to open the gate in front of NATO. In Iraq, 17 people were killed and more than 55 others wounded following a car explosion which targeted a military checkpoint in Diyala province south of Baghdad. Meanwhile, 2 Iraqis were killed and 5 others wounded when a series of terrorist attacks targeted the city of Diyala this morning. In Egypt, the National Salvation Front called for massive demonstrations at the Tahrir Square next Friday to realize what it called the interests of the people. The front said in a statement that the demonstrators seek to prevent the Muslim Brotherhood from assuming full control of the state. The front pointed out that the current Islamist political regime has committed deadly mistakes, calling for forming a new constitution which fulfills the people's aspirations for justice and social equality. In occupied Palestine, Israeli occupation troops broke into a number of towns in the West Bank, arresting scores of Palestinians, including children. Occupation troops used tear gas and sound bombs against a number of residential neighborhoods and set up military barricades at several main entrances to block the movement of Palestinians inside their own villages and towns. The National Commission of the Syrian Science Olympiad honors the distinguished winners who will represent Syria in World Science Olympiads in the domains of mathematics, physics, chemistry, and informatics.
The National Commission of the Syrian Science Olympiad has concluded its final tests intended to determine the winners in the scientific competitions. The festivity was held at Al Asad Library, where the results of the first 10 distinguished winners in maths, physics, chemistry and informatics were declared. The winners would be representing Syria in World Science Olympiads. The students who have excelled in the tests expressed their happiness over this honoring and voiced their hope to hoist Syria's flag in international competitions and get golden medals. The central final scientific tests of the Syrian Science Olympiad had kicked off at Dama Rose Hotel in Damascus yesterday with the participation of 293 young men and women from all governorates. The Syrian Science Olympiad is a strategic national project that looks for distinguished students with a view of developing their skills in the various scientific specializations through competitions, training and rehabilitation.
With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more news about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam after a short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Minister of Electricity, Engineer Imad Khamis, asserted that the electricity returned gradually to the southern area, which was cut due to a terrorist attack on the main line. Engineer Khamis pointed out that the electricity was restored by 60% yesterday and it will return to all the rest of the area today. He added that they took appropriate measures to fix the damages due to the attacks that targeted the high voltage and generating plants. On the other hand, the ministry is working now full-time to overcome the obstacles. Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade denied any increasing in the prices of materials and goods, particularly flour and gasoline, adding that the new prices are adjusted up to or down every year according to the season, except for the diesel, which is increased 10 Syrian pounds, while other materials remained relatively unchanged. He also said that the government has no intention in increasing the price of gasoline, which is 55 Syrian pounds, as well as the prices of wheat and flour for this season. Manager of the fuel company stressed that the diesel crisis is about to be ended in spite of the obstacles in transporting it to the southern governorates, while the company is working currently on restoring the services for the pumping oil pipelines, which had been attacked and destructed. He also indicated that citizens shall feel the improvement in delivering diesel to their homes during the next weeks, as 50 to 60% was already delivered, showing that the local production, in light of the economic sanctions, covers between 60 to 65% of consumption during the current circumstances, and they are relying on the refineries of Banias and Homs. Oil traded near a 4-month high in New York, as Japan's central bank said that it will expand asset purchases to lift the world's third biggest crude consumer out of its third recession in 5 years. European shares fell as the Dutch bank tumbled on speculations that it may cut its profit guidance, while investors awaited a report on the U.S. house sales. Asian stocks outside Japan climbed, while the Nikkei index dropped for a second day as the yen gained after the Bank of Japan said that it will wait until the next year to start open-ended asset purchases, following up a 2% inflation target. The gram of 21-carat gold was set at 4,400 Syrian pounds, while the gram of 18-carat gold was set at 3,771 Syrian pounds in the local markets. As the Jewelleries Association set the price of the golden coin at 33,400 Syrian pounds, while the English coin of 21 carat was set at 35,600 Syrian pounds, and the 22 carat was set at 37,200 Syrian pounds. The yen rallied from its nearest weakest level in more than 2 years and a half after investors' disappointment, who expected bolder action now. On the other hand, the Japanese currency advanced against 14 of its 16 major counterparts. On the other hand, the euro gained against the US dollar, halting a 2-day drop, ahead of German data forecast to show an improvement in the economic sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.